This week,
I surf through a sea of sequels,
Rockstar co-founder puts his foot in his mouth,
and we talk about the Blue Bombers' latest outing, Mega Man 11.
Hello and welcome back to the Cynical Optimists podcast, the podcast where we take the film, TV and gaming news of the week and we discuss it, we dissect it, we give you our opinions, and then in the second half, we'll take something from pop culture and we'll talk about that for like 30 minutes. But anyway, I'm Phil.
And I'm Nick.
So how have you been, Nick?
I've been very well, thank you. I'm all re-energised. I've got a glass of wine in front of me. I know I'm at work, but you got to de-stress sometimes.
It's fine.
It's fun.
The boss says it's okay.
Okay, good.
Mr. Adderink. It's not me, it's
he
just some other
keeps
guy.
popping round and he's really scary.
Oh, you don't
You've
want
got to keep to budget.
a budget of like a microphone. You have to bring your own wine.
What have you been up to?
I got a Switch since the last series.
Have you really? I mean, we're talking like we don't talk outside of the podcast.
But I think last series a lot of my discussion was like, maybe a few more things need to get announced. And then obviously Smash Bros was at E3. So now I have a Switch all ready to go for Smash, which is one of our discussions this evening. But anyway, just to give you a bit of a preview, wink wink. Anyway, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been playing Spider-Man PS4 because I already had my PS4 in the last season, didn't I?
Yeah.
Because that was the thing I was deliberating on for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for enough good games, and by that I mean 2 games, one of which is Battlefront 2, one of which is Spider-Man PS4.
So one good game.
So now I won't buy anything else until the PS5 comes out.
That's the thing, like, with my Switch I got Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and they're both just such good games. To be honest, didn't need any more games until I picked up Mega Man 11 and Dragon Ball FighterZ last month.
Mega Man.
And now I've just been playing those. Like, I get a lot more use out of the 4 games on my Switch than I think I did out of my Wii U, and I'm not sure if that was because at uni my Wii U had to share space with my PC because it's the same screen.
Well, it's kind of the good thing about, I guess, like these games that kind of... The one good thing about these games that you kind of have to keep buying things for and DLCs and this, that and the other, because at least they do also last quite a long time.
Yeah.
Because we've already got one new Spider-Man DLC already. I've only just finished the main story mode. If anything, they could have waited a bit longer for me.
I was going to say, that's pretty soon after release, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking for the first, like...
I mean, unless you...
episodes,
if you've got the time of day to, like... Because I've only really just finished the story mode, like, not that long ago. But I guess if you've got more time than me... Jeez. It's the bloody 9 to 5.
What a way to make 11.
I know. So this week in TV and film news, Phill, a shit ton of sequels have been announced this week.
I love sequels.
These include...
They're familiar to that thing I saw last week.
These include, but are not limited to... Are you ready?
Yeah.
Austin Powers 4.
Oof.
Gladiator 2.
Okay.
Bad Boys 3.
I heard about that one.
Labyrinth 2.
What?
Yeah.
How?
A lot of these were made in the 80s and the 90s.
Labyrinth 2 just seems in such bad taste, though.
And we're now getting sequels to probably all of... Although, these kind of articles are just when usually just like some producer or some director says, yeah, it's moving ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's...
But they usually don't happen. Except Bad Boys 2 is... Bad Boys 3 is now definitely happening because...
I was going to say there's been the first production photos.
Yeah, that's how you know a film is actually happening, is if a production photo comes out.
Even not then.
Yeah.
But once they start investing money into the shoot, they'll release it as long as it's 90 minutes.
Well, as soon as they start putting that publicity out, like the Joker movie I didn't think would ever happen, But now they've released the first still, and they released a little teaser video as well. So that's definitely happening. Yeah. So if you're a fan of films that came out 20 or 30 years ago,
if you've just been waiting for the epic conclusion to the Bad Boys trilogy, all those cliffhangers.
To be fair, in some situations, I think that would have worked well. Like, I wish there was a bigger gap between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises.
You reckon?
That would have been pretty cool. Like, because you're supposed to believe that he's been like in hiding for 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. Like as much as obviously I love the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
The whole central conceit of it being such a tight story is that he becomes Batman, fights the Joker,
and then
disappears
retires
for 10 years, and then comes back.
So how was he even famous?
And then disappears again.
How was he even famous in Gotham by that point?
Yeah, it's not really... Like, you wouldn't think he'd have even got notoriety. He just was doing it for a few weeks.
Because that's at the end of Batman Begins as well. You see Detective Gordon, like, give him the card for the Joker. It's like, here's the Joker, go get him. And then the next movie, he's fighting the Joker, and then he retires. So yeah. How does anyone even know who Batman is at this point?
Yeah, it's like... It is just a course of a few weeks, then 10 years later, like a week more.
Yeah. They're like, Batman's back. Who?
It's why they do so much of that, like, nah, he's a myth and stuff like that. It's because to most people, he was. Go on a long holiday and you miss the whole thing.
But yeah, Bad Boys 3. Gladiator 2 seems the most nonsense out of those to me.
Yeah.
Didn't he die at the end?
I've seen it, but I just can't remember it.
Oh. Sorry, I might have spoiled it, but yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, so it's not really spoilers. It's just like...
to the viewers.
Oh, yeah, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert for a 20-year-old film, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, The Meg is getting a sequel.
That shark film from the summer.
Shark film from the summer. I didn't see it.
No, nor did I. It just looked...
I might watch it when it goes on Now TV, inevitably, in like a month or two.
It looked like one of those, you know, those B movies.
Yeah.
Like...
But it was with Jason Statham.
Sharknado, or like Giga Shark versus Mega Octopus. It looked like one of those that somehow got a like cinema release.
How dare you offend those movies?
They're your favourites. Your favourite cinematic universe.
The weird giant shark mutant universe, which is apparently a thing.
Doing better than DC.
Ooh, shots fired. What else was I going to say about that? Oh, there's some Avatar sequels. They've now got names. I did just have it up on here, but I've closed the tab.
The thing is, you've closed the tab and you've already forgotten, and so have I.
So who cares?
There was something about a seed bringer.
No, that
seed
was
bearer.
The underwater menace. The attack of the Na'vi, revenge of the Na'vi. I don't know. So who cares? Oh, I've just tenuously linked into Star Wars there. You thought you could kill
Very
the
good.
tenuous links. They will never die. So you know the Unconfirmed Boba Fett movie that was never confirmed?
Yes.
Despite being never confirmed officially, it's now definitely scrapped. Unconfirmed. They never announced it, but it was like almost like a sure thing. But now someone directly asked Kathleen Kennedy about it, and she kind of just said, "Oh, we're completely committed to The Mandalorian and Episode 9." So that is to say that it's not confirmed, but it's almost definitely confirmed that an unconfirmed film is no longer confirmed.
Yeah, that's not even like saying it's been cancelled. That's just
Yeah.
saying we're not making it right this
I mean,
second.
obviously the internet goes nuts when anything to do with Boba Fett comes up. So,
And also, like, the Star Wars fan base have chosen Kathleen Kennedy to be their new... like,
scapegoat.
Yeah. For any criticisms they
Yeah.
have about Star Wars. So no, because I saw it, like...
Guess what? She's there to make them money, and she's doing a really good job at it. So.
Yeah, she's doing a good job running Star Wars, but I saw... I think it was Star Wars Theory had a video of, like, Kathleen Kennedy says it's cancelled. And I was like, what? No?
No.
Well, the thing is, I don't really watch his videos when he talks about that kind of stuff, because he just...
Rants.
Yeah, but the thing is, he always gets really passive-aggressive about, like, Episode 8.
Have they remade it yet? I can't wait for that news story. I'm not gonna lie. Can we do a whole episode if they ever do Can we do an episode on that remake?
If they get the remake of episode 8, which had all those legitimate contributors, raise what, like £1 billion in a day or whatever it was.
They were going to match it, weren't they, the producers? Every pound donated, they were going to match.
Yeah, so just for some context, if you don't know, it was about 6 months ago, I want to say now.
Just for clarification as well, I don't even particularly like episode 8, but...
I think me and you are equidistant from the middle.
Yeah.
As in, I like it, but... And you don't like it, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
But it was about 6 months ago. This was after... The Star Wars fan base held on to their anger about episode 8. It's almost as if they don't follow the morals of the films. For far too long. To a point where a fan was like, we're going to pay for a reshoot shot for... Like, you know, pay to do it properly. And in over, 24 hours, supposedly, he'd raised, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But the thing is, a lot of people were donating... Because the thing is, you didn't have to donate. You were just saying how much you would give.
Pledge.
Yeah. You didn't have to commit to anything. So many people I know wrote phony pledges of £100,000 and stuff like that. So I've got to think that the majority of that was joke money. But then it just kind of dropped off the radar. So what I'm assuming is it had its spot in the weird sphere of online media reporting, and then no one cared anymore.
I kind of do want to see it though. I'm interested to see what...
I would love to see some angry fans remake of episode 8, just because deep down I know it would be terrible. Yeah. It would just be pure fan service, and not good fan service either.
So yeah, if you were holding up expectations for a Boba Fett movie, it's probably not going to happen, and he's probably dead in canon still. Probably.
I was going to say, they threw out the extended universe where he gets eaten by the Sarlacc 3 times.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're pressing on with The Mandalorian. That's going to go on Disney's new streaming service, which has just been announced. We're also going to get shows based around the Winter Soldier and Falcon from the Marvel Universe. With Sebastian and Stan and Anthony Mackie both reprising their roles. So it's going to be high budget. They're going to be joining... There's previously announced Loki and Scarlet Witch series as well.
They're bringing the big guns for this streaming service.
They're bringing the big guns. What that means about where these characters are going to be set, I'm not sure. But maybe they'll just dot them around in the 80s or whatever.
Yeah, there'll be possibly origins, or there'll be some contrivance as to why the other Avengers aren't there to help. Apart from maybe one doing a cameo in one episode.
But yeah, I'm excited by this because obviously we've had cancellations at Netflix because they're trying to get rid of all their Marvel properties as quick as they can, basically. We've had Iron Fist and Luke Cage cancelled. I really hope Daredevil doesn't go.
But then, to be honest, Luke Cage was surprising because I heard that had pretty positive reception.
Yeah.
Iron Fist I was not surprised.
Well, but even season 2 got positive reception for Iron Fist.
Yeah, but from what I heard, it wasn't enough to bring people back to try it again.
No, I didn't. So.
Yeah.
But I really hope those characters actually still exist within the MCU because they always did get a bit shunted out the way. I'd quite like to see them appear in one form or another in the Disney streaming service, or even integrate them a bit more into the MCU, because that's a great Kingpin who we've got in Daredevil as well. So if they brought that into the Spidey movies at some point, I'd be pretty chuffed about that.
Yeah, what I think Marvel are kind of moving towards, and I've kind of thought it's kind of been slight with their films and now with the TV shows as well, they're basically trying to do the comic book model.
Yeah.
Of having the individual stories where you go to the comic book every week and you buy the entries.
Yeah.
And then the big movies, which are like the Avengers comics, or the graphic novels, which are like the hardbacks.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they've pulled out enough big guns with this new streaming service to... I would probably get this Disney thing. I mean, Star Wars would have done it enough for me, but now they're getting some big Marvel stuff as well.
Well, the thing is, the Fox thing went through, didn't it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're releasing Dark Phoenix still, so I don't know what that's all about. But
well, what I mean is the amount of TV shows that Fox own. Stick Family Guy, The Simpsons, and Futurama on there.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And you've not only got the Marvel stuff, but you're going to get a lot. The amount of properties.
Yeah. I don't know though. I think they'll keep it kind of core Disney. I don't know, Phil.
Well, maybe it will depend on the initial uptake.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like new content.
Yeah,
I guess, but we'll see. Exciting stuff. Is that the end of next year or early 2020 or something that's coming out?
Is it still that far away?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I mean, they've got shows to make.
I suppose. I was just thinking of it.
And they've got to cut. They're still producing shows with Netflix and stuff, aren't they? So they've got to cut. They've got to kind of gradually phase all that out. In the same way, they have to gradually phase out the X-Men stuff as well.
The final episode of Daredevil season 4, he just looks to camera and goes, "Looks like we'll find out on Disney."
To be continued on Disney. Starting from $6.99 a month. Terms and conditions apply. But switching topics from expensive-looking Marvel TV to cheap-looking DC TV.
Nice.
We've got our first look at Bane from the final season of Gotham. I sent you the picture of this, didn't I?
No, you didn't.
Have I not shown you him?
No.
Okay, imagine. You know that episode of Rick and Morty where they do a Mad Max parody?
Yeah.
Imagine one of like the background characters from that. And that's what Bane looks like.
Does he have like his face mask and everything?
Yeah, but it's the wrong shape and it's just a bit all over the place. It's like a weird gimp suit with like plastic clear bits just all over the place.
I mean, I've never seen it, but it sounds like this is not a rare misstep from Gotham.
You know what? I think it's a well written show with a lot of like good people working on it. It's great at like representation. It's got strong female characters. It's got LGBT representation. It's like all the cast are like constantly having a blast. If you like follow any of them on social media, they actually love making it. But geez, some of it looks real cheap.
It's a problem though with like broadcast television.
And it's the thing as well is that where Marvel is like giving the producers of these shows like stuff to actually play with, they're not like Gotham isn't even allowed to call it the Joker. They have to call their version. Is it Jeremiah or Jay? I think they're just calling him now. I haven't watched it in a little while. Basically, they're not allowed to use the green hair. They're not allowed to use this. Bane looks like a gimp. And there was a picture that went out. You can look it up if you want. We won't put it in. But there's a picture that released recently of like the filming of the new season with Bruce Wayne in like a proto Batman outfit, and it just looks ridiculous. He's got like earmuffs on.
You did send me that.
I sent you that one. Yeah,
I don't even remember the picture.
He's wearing like
just
sponge pads. He's like wearing sponge pads in the shape of a six-pack and just some earmuffs. And it's like, ooh, terrifying.
Sure, it's
the
not
Dark
Halloween
Knight.
Costume.
Yeah, that's the Dark Knight of Gotham. You know, just ridiculous. But yeah, I weirdly still quite like that show. I haven't watched it in a little while, but its heart's in the right place.
Like a dumb puppy.
Yeah, it's not the prettiest puppy, but it's loyal and it's friendly. Speaking of TV series, we've had a couple of teasers for What We Do in the Shadows TV series. It's like a TV remake of the Taika Waititi film. I don't know if you ever saw it on Netflix.
I didn't see it, but didn't you really rate it?
I love it. It's like a mockumentary that follows a group of vampires. Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi starred in the original. They're going to be writing and directing this new series.
I think I heard about this actually, yeah.
It's got Matt Berry in it, amongst others. There's a couple of clips that have just been revealed online. You can check them out. It looks really good. I'm excited to see that. It's such a good concept and premise, and with a great crew like that attached. And Matt Berry's just funny and everything as well. So
I was going to say he's been in quite a lot recently as well.
Yeah, Disenchantment. Yeah. Really excited for that one. And if you're wondering, we'll never get to watch that anyway because it's one of these shows that will never pass through UK networks. Well, FX, is that an American network, isn't it?
Yeah,
they've just completed a deal with the BBC.
Oh.
Which means the BBC will get sort of dibs on airing shows such as What We Do in the Shadows. They've got stuff like Sons of Anarchy they'll be able to play.
Is this BBC though? Or will this be BBC Three?
Probably BBC Three. Oh, it's not going to be prime time BBC One, is it? It's probably BBC Four at like 1 in the morning. But
I mean, it interests me though because FX and well, I think they've got another channel, FXX, have both Archer and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I was going to say Archer and Legion and Always Sunny in Philadelphia as well.
And those, recent seasons of Archer have not been great, but It's Always Sunny. I'm only watching it for the first time at the moment.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, if you're listening to this in 2018 as opposed to 2005, that's good news because then it's going to be available on iPlayer.
Yes.
Which is just, that's really good news. Good stuff. Finally, you've asked me to include this in my news.
Ah, yes.
Dragon Ball Super Broly is receiving a light novel adaptation.
So, this is something that I saw in the news the other day. It was reported originally by Kanzenshu, who do a lot of Dragon Ball news. And I just thought it was the funniest story because, I mean, you don't watch much Dragon Ball. You actually were watching some Dragon Ball Abridged before we recorded tonight.
Mm-hmm. And pretty much my first experience of it.
Yeah. Very much action and fighting and stuff like that. And it was like, how do you novelise that? Is it like, he punches him hard, he goes flying through mountains like whoosh.
They fight. Full stop.
But then I was talking to one of my friends about it, and apparently there is a novelisation of Austin Powers.
Interesting.
And she sent me like a screenshot of it. I'll have to send it to you later. You can look it up. It's a guy tweeted it, but it was like describing it, and it was like describing it in such like a cheesy way. And I decided that actually the new best job in the world is novelizations of films that should not have novelizations.
Yeah.
What I meant to do before this episode, but I'm going to be honest, I forgot. I forgot until you were like, Phill asked me to bring this up. Was I was going to see if there was a novelization of like The Expendables. Because that's what is the equivalent of. Because I know obviously you've seen that. You haven't seen much Dragon Ball, but
I've seen The Expendables 1 and 2.
But yeah, apparently this is the third Dragon Ball film in a row to get a light novel adaptation in Japan.
Amazing.
So, you know, if you want to read it, because obviously like stuff like Star Wars get the adaptations, but that has like additional lore and bits.
I was going to say that sort of stuff probably would work better as a comic or something anyway, wouldn't it?
You mean Dragon Ball?
Graphic novel.
Which started as a manga.
Yes. I've just done my shame face.
I mean, there's 3 volumes of Dragon Ball Super literally up there.
This is a good thing this is a podcast, because the redness of my cheeks right now.
Yeah, it'd be a shot of Nick staring at camera, and then camera zooming in on the books in the background. But no, that's alright. You're new to it. So, if you have followed this podcast before, you know we usually do... Well, you knew I usually do for gaming news 1 or 2 big stories, and then I usually roll for a few headlines, going over some of the big things that have come out. This week, there's not been so much little stuff. So instead I've got 3 big stories I'm going to go over. So I hope it doesn't take me like all day, because I've written a lot of notes.
Put the kettle on. Optimum time.
Hey! Anyway, our first gaming story of this new season is something we've discussed before on the show. Crunch. And sadly I'm not talking about the best word to use when naming your cereal. Crunch is used to refer to the period up to the release of a video game where people go all out. They work insanely long weeks, they burn the candle at both ends, all in the name of shipping the best game they can in the time they have. The problem is that crunch has become the expected norm, and as a result, developers are expected to work long hours and can often go weeks without seeing their families. The hours are enough that it can just simply burn people out. So a few weeks ago, this conversation about crunch in the industry once again made headlines with news that Telltale Games, developers of such games as The Walking Dead and Minecraft Story Mode, had recently laid off approximately 250 staff without severance, and it's being referred to as a majority studio closure. It's all happened about a month ago, and there's been plenty of information come out. Some bad, in that staff were working until 3 AM some days, right up until closure, with absolutely no clue they're about to be let go. But there's been some positive stories too, about studios which are taking on these staff without jobs, And it's also brought the conversation about crunch in the industry back to the forefront, which, whilst under an unfortunate circumstance, is good to talk about. So this was the situation, and we could probably go into far more detail on the Telltale Games stuff if we had time. I could literally probably fill an entire hour-long podcast just going over this one story. I've tried to keep it brief, believe it or not. And one of the big questions is crunch a part of the industry in broader sense, as a part of the creative industries, or is it a failure to give sufficient project management and just giving unrealistic timelines to go along with your game development? So what do you think, Nick?
Oh, God. He sprung it on me. I think people should not work till 3 a.m. in the morning. Well, I say that, I work in hospitality. No, it's a completely different thing.
Well, the thing is, but when I first read this story, one of the things I thought was, when I say crunch in the creative industries, when I've got something, I'm sure you've done before, when you're editing and you're right close to done, you'll continue editing.
Yeah.
But the difference of that is we're choosing to do it.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
And we're working for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that miserable bastard Hadwing.
Oh, Hadwing. God, don't get me started.
And that was the main thing for me. Like,
he's knocking at the door again right now. He's demanding rent.
Rent?
We live in the Hadwing recording studio.
We're squatting. Anyway, but I started... Because, I tried to put myself in see multiple views, but it was... No, if I was working for myself, then I could work the hours that I chose to. But working for someone else and feeling obliged to work those hours is completely different. So anyway, whilst this was fresh in everyone's minds, you would have to be nuts to do something daft, like, say, brag about how your employees were working 100-hour weeks on your upcoming game as if it were positive.
Who might this be?
So in an interview with New York Magazine about 2 weeks ago, co-founder of Rockstar Games, developers of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption,
yes,
co-founder Dan Houser was promoting the then upcoming video game Red Dead Redemption 2, and a part of his interview he said, quote, "We were working 100-hour weeks." The story also made a point of the fact that the game had over 300,000 animations and 500,000 lines of dialogue, as well as, I'm sure, a ridiculous amount of code. So, needless to say, that went down like a lead balloon.
Yes.
So, whilst crunch has been a point of contention in the industry going all the way back to 2004, this was just after the Telltale situation, and obviously there was a fresh wound. So, I'm going to take a little... I've actually got my notes to remind me that whilst I was researching this story, there are some really good pieces out there on this, because I'm cutting a lot of this down in order to do it in a reasonable time. There's different stories on Telltale and Rockstar and things like that. There's a especially good one by Polygon, which I recommend you looking up if you want to read more. Anyway, after backlash from his comments, Houser received... he revised what he said to say that he was only referring...
It was only 99-hour weeks.
Well, he was saying... basically, he revised it to... Oh, no, it was only us and the senior writing team who did 100-hour weeks. And it was mostly because of our huge workload. And it was basically we chose to do it, so it's fine.
Do you think there's a problem here with the format of a game as opposed to like a film where reshoots and stuff can just push the time back on a film because people are still going to probably watch that film if it's marketed and whatnot anyway? But games, and they're like the format of the game's console and continuing like development of graphics and the console itself, because there's a deadline to keep to within the PS4 time frame, and then before they move to next gen and stuff like that. And because of what other games are going to come out around that sort of time and stuff, is it way more competitive to get it out at a certain time?
I would disagree on the basis that a console is usually around for about 7 years.
Yeah.
So even if you start at the beginning, you should have a game out in that console generation. Obviously, there are windows of time you would target to launch, because there are better times of year to release a game as there are film.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, obviously it's not on the same scale as Red Dead Redemption 2, which Rockstar, as always, are always pushing for like record-setting games. And to be fair, it has set records. But for example, Team Sonic Racing, whatever, the latest Sonic Racing game has just been delayed 6 months, and they're like, we needed more time to work on it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think in a little way, it's hubris of the the people at the top being like, no, we can get it done in this time. We'll have it done for this date, and maybe just not like planning properly.
Yeah. No, exactly.
To go back to what I kind of said earlier.
Yeah.
So
it needs needs a producer in the same way that I can literally only relate it to films, because that's an industry that I kind of know. But
to be honest, there are comparable facets to it.
Yeah, you just need to be like, okay, well, realistically, this is the time frame we're going to have to spend on it. Yeah, it shouldn't need to get to the point where you've got the crunch, really, if it's well managed enough.
I was going to say it's, and also it's.
I'm not obviously going to pretend that I would know how to avoid it, but
because there's bits as we go through this story where it's, because the thing is, crunch on the part of the employee saying, I want to stay and get this done, is different to the part of the fact that everyone's doing it, so therefore you should feel obliged to do it.
Do they do testing? Well, obviously, but do they do like consumer testing before?
So that's interesting. That's actually stuff I'm going to come on to in a bit, because actually what you're talking about is QA testing,
right? Quality
assurance testing. And that is typically the worst area to work for in game development.
Because you have to rewrite a lot if it doesn't go down in a certain way.
Well, the thing is, they're not particularly coders or anything, but they've got to test the game for hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
That is, so, part of where Rockstar will get in criticism.
I was going to say, if like, to compare it to like a film, if when they do like the test audiences late in the game, to correct a film, it doesn't actually take up. Like if you look at Suicide Squad, I imagine test audiences didn't like the downbeat tone of the original cut, and then they were like, okay, easy fix, just pump a load of soundtrack and ADR onto it. Whereas with a game, if they don't like something about that, that's like hours and hundreds of hours of recoding.
Yeah, well, it would obviously depend on what isn't liked. But no, because one of the...
Sorry, Suicide Squad, I'm never going to live it down.
No. That's fair. It's a fair thing to say. But one of the highlighted areas in the criticism of Rockstar was that they have a quality assurance studio in Lincolnshire, that's where a lot of the reports of over 100-hour weeks were coming from employees. And the problem with quality assurance jobs is you're a contractor. You're not employed, and you don't have the same protections. And quality assurance people can get laid off just for missing a day of work. So there's been stories, not necessarily from Rockstar, and I need to stress at this point that the stories from the studio head saying it's fine and the studio stories from the bottom are stories and have no legal precedent. I'm going to very much... don't want to get sued for libel here, but there have been stories from the wider industry of people being let go for missing one day of work as a QA tester because they're disposable.
Yeah.
And that's and it's something that Rockstar are saying that they're working on and they're planning to like come back, do better at. But obviously this is all part of the recent PR because of their bloody co-founder putting his foot in his mouth.
Yeah.
And actually Rockstar has famously had a ban on employee social media, which they've recently lifted so that employees can basically go on and say that actually it's not that bad to work here. So part of me is very cynical about that because one of the departments they didn't lift it on is QA testing. But like it is also, you would hope that Rockstar weren't forcing a large number of developers to lie.
No.
And they've also released internal statistics showing that through September, the average working week was between 42 and 46 hours. Still longer than your average week, but nowhere near reports.
No.
So it's one of those things where it doesn't seem like it's all that bad. Obviously, there's been past employees have said there's been weeks where the hours have got super long, but there's also been people who've said, actually, my colleagues are exaggerating. So it's that's why I go back to.
I mean,
these are just
there's
stories.
clearly an element of this where the developer for it is Rockstar, isn't it? For Red, yeah, has clearly tried to use the crunch as a bit of like a marketing tool.
That's the whole thing. Is they
Be
tried
like,
to.
You should buy this game because we've spent hundreds of hours.
They tried to use it as like almost a mark of pride. Mark of pride, as if you can work like 20-hour weeks.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
Because you're so on it.
When I've been like, when you see the good marketing that came on the run up to Spider-Man was all videos of the staff being like, we're loving this. Like we've got so much passion for this character, and we're putting fun things in the game. Like we've got a social media tool in the game, and we've got to write tweets that are really funny, and there's little Easter eggs that you can spot. Not, oh my god, we've been slaving away. Please get us out of here.
So yeah, it's one of those interesting things because when asked about it, like because there's some people who are obviously, as always happens in this situation, saying they're going to boycott Red Dead 2 as a sign of protest for crunch, and actually what the staff have been coming back and saying, some of them have been saying, don't boycott the game because we put a lot of bloody time into it. But what you need to do
is get this in the press a bit more.
Get it in the press and keep up the social media pressure.
Yeah,
because it's only due to the social media pressure that studio in Lincoln is getting its policies revised, and it's having Rockstar under pressure to change things.
Yeah, and by calling people out on saying casual stuff like what this bloke was saying about the 100 hours, like the fact that he got a backlash is just it's key to the situation and preventing it in future releases.
Well, the thing is, there is a
Phill is doing a public service here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there is a distinct possibility that it just didn't occur to him that it was bad.
Yeah. No, of course, yeah.
And now he's going to think of it in a different way. Obviously, this is all very optimistic. Okay.
Nice.
But no, I think I do agree with that stance. It's like, if you don't buy the game, at the end of the day, the people on top are still going to be at the top.
Yeah, and the people who slaved away.
People who saved away are going to get laid off.
Yeah.
So no, I have to agree that if you want to try Red Dead Redemption, do. I've heard it's received critical acclaim. It's been breaking records like the Grand Theft Auto games do. Apparently Rockstar don't do half measures. But keep up the pressure and demand better from your industry, is basically what I've got to say. Any other final remarks?
If you work for the Nobel Prize Corporation, it's right to Haddoing. Make sure you go past the boss, though. He's a real guy.
He tampers with my mail. So, Rockstar have recently released Red Dead Redemption 2, a game where you explore the Wild West and get your hands dirty. In celebration of this, they dug themselves a big hole and have been trying to climb out ever since.
Nice.
Yeah, I like ending with a joke. Lightens the mood. Speaking of lightening the mood, we're going to talk about something that's a bit less contentious and hopefully a bit less heavy. Smash Brothers. It's like Whiplash, isn't it? Going from this conversation.
That is not as heavy, really, is it?
Yeah. So on Thursday, the final Super Smash Bros. Direct aired, premiering new fighters Ken from Street Fighter and Incineroar from Pokemon. And also, as a pre-order bonus for the game, he kept the bloody Piranha Plant from Mario, which is
hilarious,
and it actually looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I can't knock it. It was just very strange, and I'd had a long day, and I thought I was seeing things.
I want the DLC to be one of the pipes from Mario.
Or a Goomba.
Goomba.
Well, that's the thing. They've said there's going to be 5 DLC characters.
Ooh.
There's been no news of who they'd be, because they're like, well, we haven't started making them yet because we're focusing on the main game.
But they'll be there.
Because they're doing basically their DLC, like 5 sets. It'll be a character, a stage, and some music.
Right, okay.
So, that'll be interesting. So,
pipe.
Speculation has not ceased as to who will be in.
The pipe. Can we get it trending?
Hashtag pipe for smash.
Pipe for smash.
Sounds like smoking weed or something. Doing blow.
Hashtag pipe for smash.
Pipe for smash. So as part of this, they also showed off the opening cinematic to the new adventure mode called Spirits.
Saw it.
Where basically everyone dies. Spoiler alert. Everyone dies, apart from Kirby, who uses his dimensional shift powers that everyone knows so much about to escape. I mean, it looks fun. The whole premise of it is just basically, the plot is just a thin thing to line up battles. Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, the story mode in Smash Bros. Brawl was, me and you played through that in a day, didn't
I remember.
we?
That was pretty vague.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, these characters have bumped into each other and they're angry, now they fight. Now you go to the next level.
Yeah. It's not like Injustice, is it?
No. Well, to be fair, Injustice is also a storyline mostly written so that characters
I feel
fight.
like that's a bit more like thought of. It's got some pretty heavy stuff in there.
I mean, isn't there some central conceit as to why all the characters are the same power?
Oh yeah, there's some like drug or something that.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not knocking it. Dragon Ball FighterZ has the exact same thing, where there's waves, and all of a sudden all the characters are back on equal footing.
Nice, yeah.
Because on a good day, Goku could basically kill everyone.
I was gonna say, that's why the Joker can fight Superman or Aquaman or anyone that
no, it's necessary for a fighting game to have that kind of plot line.
MacGuffin.
But the opening cinematic was very prettily animated. I love the music in it, and I'm down for the new characters. So
Good
all in all,
stuff.
good. Did you hear about the Grinch leak that happened before the supposed leak of the final characters? It was it was only referred to as the Grinch leak because in the picture that was the leak, there was like a Grinch picture in it.
Right.
It wasn't trying to imply that the Grinch was going to be in Smash Bros.
I was gonna say.
Nick has this massive confused look on his face. But it was because last for Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, the full roster did get leaked before launch.
Yeah.
And people had thought it had happened again. The characters that were supposedly coming according to that included Shadow the Hedgehog, Banjo-Kazooie, Mack Rider, which was like in the NES game where they ride the motorbikes, and I think and there was some other character. There was like 4 characters, and for some reason people were buying it. I'm going to be honest. I looked at the image and it was very clearly fake.
To be honest, the only thing I'm thinking of right now is a fighting game between the Grinch and the Cat in the Hat. That's all that's going through my head right now. And he's got the bat from the movie.
The thing is, for a different
It's the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat.
for a different podcast I work on that hasn't done any airing yet, I'll talk about it later in the season. We're going through old N64 games, and one of them is Tom and Jerry Fists of Fury, where it's Tom and Jerry fighting. And you saying that is just making me think of that. We're basically getting each other more and more down this rabbit hole of cartoon characters.
Amazing.
But yeah, basically the leak was wrong, but a lot of gaming YouTubers were like posting like, "Oh my god, is this leak right?" and things like that, and I was just like,
Probably not.
probably not. To be honest, it's pretty obvious. Like, then again, I say that because specifically the Banjo-Kazooie bit, because it's always a bad Photoshop with a shaky camera. Like, if you're going to leak something, can you just stand still for 1 second?
It's never going to be leaked in HD 1080p.
Yeah. And it was very clear, because I've done so much work with that series before, I could recognise where the picture was from. And the shadow one just looked fake. Anyway, so
Fake news.
The direct came around and it wasn't right, and yeah, I don't know, leaking in general, I might, because we've got a new section where we complain about things, I might complain about leaking one week. Not sounding...
Spoiler alert for a future section.
Not to sound incontinent. But yeah, that's... To be honest, I just want to bring up the Smash Direct because I like Smash Bros. I'm looking forward to the new game.
I'm aware.
You're going to main Piranha Plant?
I am actually going to smash it as Piranha Plant.
Gonna see your Evo next year, the fighting, the premier fighting tournament, winning as Piranha Plant.
I'll be dressed as it too.
Oh, please. I'd love to see that.
Cosplay idea. 2018, 19, whatever year we're not in now.
So yeah, Smash Bros. Ultimate brings together over 70 characters across multiple video games. So you can settle all the big questions such as Mario vs Sonic, Bowser versus King K. Rool, Piku versus Solid Snake, I guess. Maybe not so much the last one.
The Cat in the Hat versus the Grinch.
Well, there's 5 DLC slots, is all I'm saying. Hashtag Grinch for Smash.
Grinch for Smash.
Cat
Hashtag Cat in the Hat for Smash.
Like, a Dr. Seuss themed level in Smash would be great, to be
Yeah.
fair. Like, if it just was all based on lots of his stories. I'd be down.
Green eggs versus ham. Blue ham, whatever the fuck it is. Hashtag.
So anyway, the last story I want to do a bit more of a discussion, a bit of a longer chat about this week, is the Sony PlayStation Classic. So to give some background, there's been interest recently in mini versions of old consoles. The first one to gain prominence, but by no means the first one to exist, being Nintendo's NES Classic, which released in 2016 with supplies so small that barely anyone was able to get hold of the bloody thing until they released more earlier this year. They've since followed this up with the SNES Classic, featuring games from their second home console. This week, Nintendo reported that over 10 million had been sold across the two, which is, not bad.
It's mostly to hipster cafes, I think.
Have you seen a lot of them in hipster cafes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got them on the little sofas upstairs. You can go up and play a...
That's how those hipster cafes keep on going. They bought a bunch of them, but they're the guys scalping them on eBay for £500.
And they still charge £6 for a fucking latte.
It's evil.
Evil.
Anyway, so
Mr. fucking Hadawink is who it is.
don't uncover his hipster cafe. Hipsterink. Now Sony are entering the fray with the PlayStation Classic. So featuring 20 games in the PS1 library. So for comparison, there were 21 games on the SNES Classic and 30 on the NES. So I actually think that's reasonably fair considering the slightly higher spec of a PS1 game compared to those two. Because obviously it's a 32-bit console compared to 16 and 8.
Yeah.
However, the interesting thing, and the reason that I brought it up this week, because the console was announced a while ago, I think it might have even been announced when we were doing our last round of episodes, is that unlike the two consoles from Nintendo, the PS Classic will have different games depending on the region you buy it in.
Huh.
So, reported by multiple sites this week, the Japanese version of the PS1 Classic will feature more JRPGs and more games that were popular in the Japan region
Okay.
than the PS1 version in the rest of the world. And presumably this is due to the popularity of certain games in certain areas. For example, the rest of the world one has the original Grand Theft Auto. God, I'm getting so tongue-tied.
Grand Theft Auto.
I've been saying it for the last story. Grand Theft Auto, and it's also got like Rayman, the original Rayman game. Whereas there's been more JRPGs on the Japanese one. But I don't know, the thing is, reading that story is like, historically, video game systems have always been region locked, right?
Yeah.
As in, you've got the PAL region and the
and
NTSRC or whatever, and as a result, certain games you can import into certain areas.
Yeah.
But that's been going away a lot over the last few years. The last company that were holding out was basically Nintendo, but the Switch is region free.
Yeah.
You could buy a Switch game from anywhere. And the PS4, I think, has been region free. I think even the PS3 might have been region free.
I'm not sure the PS3 was, because I think I remember getting a PS3 game from someone who went to America once, and I couldn't play it.
But either way, in the last few years...
That might be the two, actually. I can't remember. But yeah, either way, it's...
last few years, it's been dropping out of notoriety, because the consensus in the last few years has been that actually people from all regions enjoy all games. So having two that are targeted more at their regions so overtly, just, I don't know, it seemed weird.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that they are putting their best feet forward with the lineup of games? Can they be if they use different games for different regional consoles. What do you think?
I think there's going to be a lot of imports of different versions coming in and going out.
Yeah, or people just...
Because this won't be like a limited production anyway, unlike the Nintendo ones, will it?
We don't know.
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me think, will people just buy in a Japanese one for if they want those games more?
They're not at all internet connected, are they, these remake
Not to my
consoles?
knowledge.
I was going to say, they might offer... You can, like, if you could plug it into a computer and switch them around or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
And also, seems like if you were going to do 2 different versions, why wouldn't you just make them region free and release both in all regions?
It's a very good question.
Because then you could be like, this is some more JR. You could have like 2 different versions, like 2 different styles, and then you'd even get a 1-up on the Nintendo consoles. Because you've got this one which is leaned towards more your action shooter games, this one more of your RPG fans, and it's like we're catering to more people, and you've got wider choice. Whereas this just feels weird and just a bit backwards.
I don't think the casual buyer, I don't think the hipster cafes are going to notice.
Oh no, I don't think the casual buyer will blink twice.
No.
And to be honest, I still think the game lineup seems alright. Did you ever own a PS1?
My sister did. I remember playing those terrible Harry Potter games on the PS1.
I had the terrible Harry Potter games on the Game Boy Color.
Oh, speaking of terrible Harry Potter games...
Oh, this seems like a weird place for a new series plug.
Yeah, we can do one at the end as well.
Yeah. Speaking of... Actually, this is a good Harry Potter game we're playing.
Yeah.
So join us on Friday on the YouTube channel for the first part of Synopta Plays Lego Harry Potter Years 1 to 4. That felt weird to be put in the middle of the news.
No, tenuous links, Phil.
It's still news.
We're doing section breaks now, which obviously means Phil's trying to kill off the tenuous links, and I will not let it die. I will plug games wherever I want to plug them. That sounds weird. Continue with the news, please.
So, no, to be honest, I was pretty near the end. So, the system's got a launching price. It's launching next month. It's going to be £90.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So, that's more expensive than the SNES and NES, but like we say, it's probably needs to have a bit more power on it to emulate those games.
Yeah. Plus, you can't buy the SNES and NES ones now for less than, as you say, £500.
Actually, they have decent stock now.
Okay.
After that re-release of the NES, they seem to have a decent, like... Because that's the thing, is like, releasing a limited stock, I know obviously you want to show demand for your console, but all that happens is people end up scalping it online. But then I'm not sure what to suggest the solution to that, because that will always happen, regardless of...
Yeah, I think that's a fun little thing. I've always been a fan of... I mean, not that I do this, but I've always been a fan of like bringing back kind of like the 2-player, like sitting in a room together kind of...
Well, the thing is...
As opposed to... Yeah, where games are kind of... I think it's a nice... While all these manufacturers are doing this, I think it's quite a nice way of going back to those kind of days, because the gaming industry is not a very social one anymore, apart from Nintendo still.
Well, I think this is where the gaming has trouble compared to films, is that old games... An old film can get put on a DVD quite easily, whereas old games don't really have that kind of luxury to them.
No.
So yeah, I think it's alright.
Good stuff.
So the PlayStation Classic brings back all the memories of gaming in the past, including region locking and going to a friend's house to play a game because you don't have it on your console.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, that started off as a joke, just ended up being a fact.
That's a fact, yeah.
So yeah.
Mum, I want to play this. Go play it at Sam's.
Oh, there's one more story before we get on to today's discussion, because it's the most stupid bloody story I think I've read this week.
Please go.
So it's a new update for Spider-Man for the PS4. The headline was just, a new update for Spider-Man lets you add as many puddles as you want. And I was like, come again? What? But the story behind it is that people were complaining that the puddles in the gameplay footage and the demo weren't as high quality or as big as the ones in the final release game, going so far as to refer to it as Puddlegate.
Brilliant. I saw that coming.
And unlike other like gaming conspiracies, which should be laughed off the stage, this one actually was laughed off the stage, and people were just like, "Shut up."
That's so bizarre.
So,
Also, like, actually, one thing I thought you were going to say there is one thing that bugs me is throughout the story mode of Spider-Man PS4, there are levels that you're going around New York and it's raining, and it's really cool. But then at the end of the game, where you've beaten the story, you can choose the weather, and you can only choose between sunset, day, and night, and you can't choose the raining day mode.
that might be a more legitimate criticism.
That would be a more.
honest.
I want to play in the rain.
But
No, I want to play in the rain.
recently, Insomniac have decided to get on this joke as well. And in a recent patch, now in the picture mode, you can add as many photos to a picture as many puddles, to a picture as you want. And it was like added as a patch, just
Amazing.
basically as a joke.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the best way to like. I just read it and it's actually in my notes that this is the most effing stupid story.
Amazing.
So this week we're talking about the newest in a series spanning over 30 years, and according to its main wiki page, because that's how I do my research, over 50 games, including its many side series. Mega Man. In specific, Mega Man 11, which released about a month ago, and is the latest in the adventures of Robot Boy Mega Man, created by Dr. Light, and his battles against the evil scientist, and man whose name is one L away from being bleeped, Dr. Wily. In this game, the story revolves around a new central mechanic, namely the double gear system. So it was invented by Dr. Wily as a student, but they decided to go with Dr. Light's research instead. And then he remembers about it years later, like me and Nick and ideas. Oh yeah, weren't we going to do that?
Or like the plot of Iron Man 3.
Yeah. And then he uses his rediscovered tech, steals 8 robot masters, as always, and Mega Man also installs this double gear tech to go defeat them. And it's basically a Saturday morning cartoon of a plot, but it works for the series.
Yeah.
So the double gear system in particular is using L and R. One of them is the power gear, which powers you up.
More guns! Bigger guns!
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other is the speed gear, which slows down time, which allows for more reactions.
Like Days of Future Past Quicksilver.
Well, later on, one of the upgrades you get for it is that you continue going at regular pace. Because when you first start the game, you're going slow-mo as well. Because you played a bit of it before we started recording.
I played about 10 minutes of it, and most of that was spent dying.
But like later on, it becomes almost... Well, it's at no point... The thing about the double gear system, because I beat this last night so we could talk about it today. It was fun. There's one boss I don't like, which I might talk about in a bit.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Is it because I mentioned it already?
Yes.
Yeah. But
oh yeah, I wouldn't know if you hadn't mentioned it.
Yeah, those 10 minutes you've really got a feel for it. But the thing is, the double gear system at no point, I'm not sure if you did find this at all, it's not necessary, but it was useful and it was fun.
Yeah, I think it's like a fun, like, interesting...
Yeah, and it powers up...
extra gameplay. Especially in that kind of, like, platform game as well, is that you can't really sort of... It's not like... So where I've been playing Spider-Man, it's not where you can... On a PS4, where you can select about 16 different combos of weapons... which also have their own like ways you can do it and stuff as well and things like that. But on like a 2D-ish platformer like that,
it's run and gun.
It's run and gun, yeah. So having a little bit of extra element there is it's pretty fun. Yeah,
well, because as is standard in the series, as Mega Man defeats the Robot Masters, he absorbs their powers for himself. So actually, one of the interesting things in this is previously that basically was a palette swap, like. Oh, you got red power, you're red now. Whereas this, like, it had some, like, augmentations to his actual model.
Okay.
Because the visual style has been updated, because they went to Mega Man 8 of like gradually updating it, but Mega Man 8 was still PS1, so it still looked pretty old school. Then 9 and 10 they released as like Xbox Live Arcade, WiiWare, that kind of era, and they decided to go back to like the 8-bit.
Yeah.
So this is the first one like a new
For
visual
their 30th
style.
anniversary.
For their 30th anniversary, making a new Mega Man game, being like, wow, Mighty Number 9 looked terrible. We can make it look better than that. It does look better than Mighty Number 9 did. Mighty Number 9 looked like a PS2 game.
And it is still their 30th anniversary after all.
Until November, technically. I'm not sure anyone else who celebrates their anniversary an entire year, but...
I think longer. I think we were talking about it 2 seasons ago, weren't we?
We've been talking about it a while.
Yeah.
Oh well, they're
really celebrating with style.
So anyway, the 8 robot masters joining us this time are Blockman, Fuse Man, Blast Man, Acid Man, Bounce Man, or as he's referred to in some regions, Rubber Man, Tundra Man, Torch Man, and depending on your region, Impact Man or Pile Man. Pile Man being the most lackluster name. Yeah, Impact.
He's just got toilet problems.
Well, I think it's because like he's meant to be based off like a pile driver
Okay.
drill, but it's like Pile Man. I suppose after 11 games, you start to run out of all the easy ones. Like they've had Heat Man and Electric Man and yeah. But no, I think one of the things I did like about they've taken advantage of the new visual style, because whilst Blockman, because that was the one you were playing, they've obviously got the temples and stuff in the background. It's probably one of the more generic settings of a level, because it's like it's made of rock as well.
Is this the guy that disassembles and reassembles?
No, that's a mini boss.
Oh, that wasn't even the boss.
No.
Oh.
The boss was the guy in the opening sequence.
Right, I've forgotten what they all look like. There was a lot of them.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But for example, Fuse Man is working at like a transformer station.
Okay.
Torch Man is working at a campsite as like he.
Classic.
Yeah, campfires and stuff.
I get it.
Blast Man is working. Did I say?
He's
blast?
just having a good time.
He's having a blast, man. But he's working at a theme park.
Having a good time.
And the levels like feel very themed and very,
Yeah.
very like good. Like they've taken advantage of the fact they're doing.
Where is Acid Man working? Is it
like,
in a disco in the 70s?
Oh no, it's too psychedelic for me. No, it was like a chemical waste. It was like something obvious like that.
Okay.
But yeah, one of the things I was going to say is, what did you, like? You only obviously heard a bit of it, but what did you think of like the music? Because I can't tell whether apart from the opening theme, like
it's quite fun, but it's a bit looped. I mean,
yeah, because the thing is, I enjoy the opening theme, like the if you recognise that at all.
yeah, go on then.
But the rest of it, I can't tell whether I like it or not, which is weird.
Yeah.
Like I like the style, but the actual tunes themselves, I'm like,
Yeah, and I think that they do loop quite a bit, which always bugs me a bit.
I mean, video music will always loop a little, but yeah, it's all very synthy, very.
Maybe it's because I kept dying and just going over the same bit.
That could have been it, to be fair. Yeah, and then so you do the 8 robot masters, and each robot master is usually weak to another one. Nick questioned because I'd written a bunch of them down on my whiteboard when you'd come in.
Yes.
It's
a very
because
detailed whiteboard over here. Explaining.
Yeah, I didn't work out the mold, okay?
Yeah.
If you're wondering, I worked out like 3.
There are 5 words on there.
Yeah. But after that, you go to Wily's castle, and there's several stages.
I'm going to come in next time and you'll be like, Nick, I've got it! I've found out what bounce beats! That doesn't make sense if you haven't got any idea about this game.
Or if you refer to him as Rubber Man.
Or Rubber Man.
But yeah,
you're going to have written all over the walls in your flat. I figured it out like string, like pinned across like a big spider's web that leads to like the middle word, just saying bounce. I've got it. I finally got it.
Speaking of bounce, here's one of the most annoying levels because a lot of the floors are just bounce. and you have to like get up stuff by like bouncing
Yeah.
off walls and on the like, so you're going gradually upwards.
Mm.
And it's just, I don't know. I just bounced off their edges a lot. Bounce, saying a bounce a lot. Anyway, Wiley Castle, which I was trying to go, it's always the shape of a skull, and apparently you always destroy it and you just build another one. It's one of those classic things where he just kind of runs away at the end and no one files a police report. But the first level of that was definitely the most difficult, because I almost didn't beat Mega Man 11 in time for this, in which case, to be honest, this review would have been a lot of angry, like, oh, that boss is terrible. But that first level is real challenging because it takes advantage of all the skills you've got so far, and actually that's where I found I was using the double gear system the most.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I mostly used speed gear because I found having extra time to react was a lot more important than just
More guns.
Yeah,
exactly.
but that was a lot of his castle is themed around gears this time, which is nice in theme. A lot of spinning gears you have to jump from. The boss of this one is a Mega Man mainstay called the Yellow Devil. Basically, he's one of the most annoying bosses, but he's got the most simple genius mechanic that he's made of like blocks. So he was in the original Mega Man game, and he comes in from the left-hand side of the screen, one square at a time basically, and if you get hit by it, you get damaged. But he's only weak when his eye is showing, which is very briefly. And basically, I lost to that guy so many times. And the time I beat him, I'd used up all my recovery items. To be fair, I'd only taken like 2 with me, but I'd used them both. And I was on one thing of health. And it was one of those things where I'd used my speed gear to slow down time and shot, and he'd gone through a gap and hit him, and he exploded. And I was like,
it's like the Death Star run.
I might have stood up and put 2 middle fingers up to my television. And then after that, actually, with the momentum of doing that, actually, the rest of the game, it's still challenging. Like, the Wily levels are always... What we'll say is the levels are very well designed. Like, as much as I complain about certain bits, in general, there'll be, like, high-pressure areas where you have to be, like, perfect with your travelling. But then there'll always be, like, a room where there's, like, a health item or a bit of an easier room to do, like, the cooldown. It's very good flow.
Yeah.
Like, you're not on it. You're not, like... intense. But then after that, I just kind of ploughed through the rest of the game. It's not to say it was very enjoyable. I very much enjoyed. I'd recommend it if you're the kind of a fan of those 2D action games. I think that Capcom are testing the water a lot with Mega Man at the moment because they've been releasing the Legacy collections if you want to play the originals. But yeah, and then you do the boss rush, which is why I was writing down who was weak to what. To be honest, the ones I got were not to put myself down, but I only got the obvious ones. Like, obviously, an explosion beats a brick.
Obviously.
And fire beats an explosion. And ice beats fire. Although, to be honest, I thought fire might beat ice, but it doesn't. And then ice beats bounce is kind of... Because obviously... To be fair, the main thing I think of when I say that is the, Fantastic Four, the original one, where he freezes Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah. See, I learned something from my movies. How to beat Bounce Man.
Amazing.
And yeah, I think the recent games have had a lot of stuff over the old ones, such as shops to buy more items and other, like, modern additions. So... I would be happy if there was Mega Man 12. I'd be happy if I had the double gear system again. I think it was a good return to form, but I think what they need to not do is start bloody putting them out every year, because we're on Mega Man 11, but Mega Man 1 through 6 came out on the NES.
Yeah.
Which obviously was 1985 to 1990. Well, roughly that era. Like Mega Man 6, the SNES, I think, was already out. But still, back in its day, it was like the Assassin's Creed series or the COD series.
Just pumping out.
Well, that's the thing, getting out like one a year and clearly getting games. Imagine like...
There was a movie adaptation as well, wasn't there, at some point?
Of Mega Man?
Yeah.
There was a kind of creepy looking cartoon show.
Oh.
And I think there's meant to be another Mega Man cartoon show coming soon, actually. Because I remember reading... I think I reported the news about it on here. Maybe about the same time I reported on that cookie jar that looked like an urn. Go back and watch last season. That's some very interesting news.
Yeah. That was when we were celebrating the 30th anniversary of Mega Man, actually.
We still are. We've got a glass of wine each. We're toasting Mega Man.
Cheers.
But yeah, this might be a bit of a pointless exercise, but based on your 10 minutes, what numerical score would you give the game?
11. Out of 100. No.
Oh.
No, it's pretty good.
Would you be interested in playing more?
It was pretty fun. Yeah. Yeah. Go on then.
There you have it, a reluctant recommendation from Nick. No, I think having played the full game, like, through, I will probably revisit it at some point. To be honest, I'm glad I got it on the Switch and not PC, because I can see myself just playing it in handheld.
I think this is a game that is probably very appealing to people who have played the earlier ones.
Yeah.
And a bit kind of meh to people who have never seen it or played it before.
That's the thing. What I think Mega Man 11 does very well is it's a very good reintroduction of Mega Man to Mega Man fans. What I think it doesn't potentially do enough is bring in anyone new.
No.
Like, the people who... It's one of those situations where if you were gonna buy Mega Man 11, you're gonna buy it regardless of what we say, and you're probably going to enjoy it. If you weren't gonna buy Mega Man 11, nothing we say is gonna convince you, and you're not gonna buy it.
It's
personally,
ultimately, it's like a kind of old school 2D-ish platformer with a couple of new tricks up its sleeve.
Personally, I had a blast, man.
Hey.
I would, but even saying that, I'm still split as to whether
You're on
it.
fire, man. Is there a fire?
He's called Torchman in
Fuck!
this one.
Damn it! I just looked at your whiteboard and it just says fire. Oh well, I botched that up. Is there a botch man on there?
There's Pile Man.
I'm a right pile man this evening.
But even saying like I had fun with it, my brain is still saying probably only give it a 7.5 out of 10 though. Like, bear in mind, I feel free to use the whole 0 to 10, so that's still a good score in my book. But compare it to Mario Odyssey, which I'd call it easily a 9.5. Breath of the Wild, maybe even a 10.
Woo!
Probably a 9.5 though, because I don't like giving out 10s willy-nilly.
There you go.
Yeah. Or Wily.
Ah! You beat me to it by a second. Wily Niley. Okay, so this is a new section we've got going called Don't At Me. Basically, one of us tries to convince the other and or the general public about a property that's maybe not very revered, or either or the other way around. It can be a property that's like overrated, underrated, overhyped, underhyped.
It's a safe space for us to tell you our unpopular opinions.
Exactly. That's basically it.
And you just have to sit there and listen because, as Nick said, don't at us.
Yeah. Or do.
Or do.
Synops. At Synop Podcast. So, as we've just been through Halloween, I watched a spooky movie. It looked like, and got received like any kind of standard 2010s horror film. It's called Don't Breathe. From the trailer as well, it looked like exactly like every other horror film. You got your jump scares, you got your bloody young teenage cast and a old creepy bloke. Didn't look like the kind of thing that would be mind-boggling. And it's not. But I think it's a smarter horror film than it deserves credit for. Because it doesn't rely on... I'm not going to say too much about the plots, but it doesn't rely on demonic possession or otherworldly spooks. Instead, we get a story that feels like it could have come out of like a news article that you see day to day kind of thing. It's a very it's a very small story, but like something that you could believe could easily happen.
Yeah.
And it's got a few shocking twists in there, which genuinely had me like gasping because I didn't see them coming, and they're not. They sort of subvert your expectations about where the story's going to go. And there's some very few imaginative scares as well. Not to say too much, but there's like an infrared scene where you can just see like the eyes really diluted in all the characters, and they're all just these like shot, and you can see that the actors are in the dark because their eyes are just like enormously like the irises are like enormously wide.
Yeah.
And it's a really like scary horror effect actually, and it's got like some genuinely like creepy stuff without having to rely on too many jump scares and whatnot. The premise is a bunch of teenagers go and rob this old blind man who's sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars, but of course he's a bit more with it than they expect, and I won't say too much more about the plot. There are unfortunately a few Hollywood tropes about it. The only non-Caucasian character gets a pretty piss poor deal in terms of character development and story, and there are a few jump scares as well that sort of come straight out of most like Hollywood, well, cheaper horror films.
Yeah.
But I think it is one of the best modern horror films, and people should check it out.
Big words. Where did you watch it?
I watched it on Netflix.
Oh, on Netflix now.
Available on Netflix now. Yeah, definitely worth a watch. I mean, we're past Halloween now. I appreciate that. But if you still want some November spooks,
Who doesn't love a spooky Christmas?
absolutely, have a check. Have a check it out. Don't at me. That's the new section.
Oh, have you ever been to Disney World?
Yes. Only like the downtown bit.
So this was years and years ago. We went to Florida for a family holiday, and it was this time of year, and the event that they had was Mickey's Not So Spooky Halloween.
Right.
And I joked, what's coming next? Mickey's Not So Festive Christmas.
Amazing.
So yeah, I just wanted to kind of interject my story there. So anyway, brings us to the end of the first episode of our new series. We'll be doing this almost every week up until Christmas now, apart from 1 week break, which we'll come to when we come to it.
Black Friday break.
Yeah, because there's no news on Black Friday apparently.
And when we go out and spend all of our hard-earned cash, that Mr. Haddoink's giving us a bonus. Can you imagine if we got paid?
Oof. No. Anyway, so this is the first, and we'll be doing this every week, so check back on the channel or on our brand new SoundCloud account if you want to just stream the audio instead, because we're trying to make it more accessible, because obviously YouTube uses your data, and we empathise.
And you can't close the app and it won't continue playing the...
It's like you can if you've got YouTube Red or... I don't know. It's one of those... Should be a basic feature, but they're hidebound of paywall.
Ugh.
Anyway, you can find us on Twitter at Cynical Podcast. If you join us on the YouTube channel on Friday, you'll catch the first episode of our new Let's Play series where we're going through the old Lego Harry Potter years 1 to 4, which will be a blast, I'm sure. We're about to record that now. And yeah, if you want to catch me, I'm at Haddoink.
And I'm at Mick Nortimer.
So yeah, there's some other stuff on the Haddoink channel you might find interesting. There's recently a gaming show called GBK has recently started premiering on there. So we played some Lego Racers and some 2 Point Hospital. So you might want to check that out. I've got another new series coming in January, but that's still being developed. The pilot, however, is available if you search on YouTube Big Nostalgia Super Smash Bros. We talk about favourite games from our past. Worth a check out if you're looking for more stuff by me. Do you have anything to plug at the moment?
I've got nothing to plug.
Oof. Need to... I was going to say run you a bath, but that's just confusing. That's what that is.
I'm going to plug my PlayStation 1... What's it called?
Classic.
Classic into my TV. That's what I'm going to plug.
whilst Nick is plugging, I will see you next week. The topic of the podcast next week will be a really good one, not one to miss. It is the Amazing Batman quiz.
Yeah, head to head.
Head to head to head. We've got guests. We're recording all together in the same room. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good one for our 40th episode.
Bumper episode.
Exactly. Anyway, I've been Phill.
And I've been Nick.
Thanks you for Thank you for listening.
See you next week. Nearly.
Nearly.
So close.